one of our sponsoring partners, Virginia Brissett, to go ahead and introduce this evening for us.
Thank you, Rabbi. Good evening, everybody. I am Virginia Brissett. I'm the president and CEO of the Jewish Council located in Gainesville, the heart of North Central Florida. It is my pleasure to represent the Southern Alliance for Jewish Education and welcoming you to the Jewish Language of Ladino, a cultural memory with Rivka Amado. The Southern Alliance for Jewish Education, or SAGE as we call it, is an informal collective of Jewish congregations and other organizations who network to share program ideas and opportunities. This Jewish Culture Series is the fourth webinar that we have hosted together as a group over the last year. Welcome to our new guests this evening, and thank you to all those folks who tuned in last week. If you missed the first session, no worries. We will make a recording available to you, and we'll upload it to YouTube and then notify the list when the recordings are available. If you appreciate this Jewish learning opportunity organized by SAGE, please consider making a donation to any of the sponsoring organizations who made this program possible, and they are B'nai Israel Congregation and Temple of Israel in Wilmington, North Carolina, Temple Bethel and Temple Emanu-El in Birmingham, Alabama, the Tommaso family of Augusta, Georgia, and the Jewish Council in Gainesville, Florida. And it is now my pleasure to turn the program over to Rabbi Bender of B'nai Israel Congregation in Wilmington, North Carolina.
And we will just start with a short blessing for studying Torah, to learning together on this journey through the culture of Ladino people, Ladino lives. So you can repeat after me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam.
Eloheinu melech haolam.
Asher kishanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Oh God,
Amen.
Thank you for this opportunity to study together.
Amen, amen, amen. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Rabbi Bender. Thank you, Virginia. I am so excited now to introduce our new friend. Some of you had a chance to study and learn with her last week. And for others, this is your first time for this very special treat. We are very honored to invite Dr. Rivka Amado to be with us this evening for our program, The Jewish Language of Ladino, a Cultural Memory. And Rivka will continue to share with us her own personal memories and enrich us with this beautiful language. Just want to remind everyone that Rivka, or Riva as her friends call her, which includes all of us, is a PhD, a lecturer, a musician, a yoga teacher who specializes in Judeo-Spanish music, culture, and history. She focuses on Sephardic women's songs and spiritual expression. She has taught in many very prestigious places, and now she's teaching for us. We are very honored to have you. And with that, Rivka, thank you so much for being here. And as I learned, gracias also works for Ladino. So gracias for being here. And we can't wait to learn and hear more with you. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Rabbi Emily. And bienvenidos. Bienvenidos, it means welcome. Welcome back to the workshop. And again, I want to say thank you for the opportunity, and I'm really excited to share with you. Today's session is going to be about the actual Ladino music. Last time we talked mostly about the language or the evolution of the language, and today we are going to talk about the music. So, let's see if I can move it here. Yeah. So, as we say, the session today is devoted to the Ladino music repertoire and the role of the music in the preservation of the culture. So, from historical documents and impressions, we know that when the Jews left Spain in 1492, they sang. There is a quote from Archbishop, who was also a historian in Seville at that time, whose name is Andreas Bernaldez, and his recollection of the Catholic kings he provides also accounts about the expulsion and the experience that the Jews actually went through. And what he wrote, the rabbis strengthened their resolve and made the women and young people play on pipes and tambourines to cheer the people up. So we know Sephardic women and young people were encouraged by their rabbi. And I want to emphasize it because later on I'm going to give you a quote about rabbis who are not very happy about women singing, but in this case they were encouraged by rabbis to sing as they departed on a very day of 1492 expulsion. We know that music played a major part of their livelihood and helped the Sephardim to maintain their spirit and the moral. And we know a lot about the power of music, but this is actually a vivid example of how music really helped the Sephardim to go through this terrible journey. However, what we don't know is what they were singing. That's the first thing. And also whether the Sephardic songs that we are familiar with them, today, which if they are really the descendants of the old Spanish songs. So the obvious question that we should ask is what is the origin of the songs and what musical evidence do we have? So we know. So there are some historical facts that musicologists and also historians know that in the pre-expulsion era, Muslims and Jews and Christians, they were working together. They were playing in the court of the royal families and the princes, court of the princes. And obviously when they were getting together, they were trying to create a joint musical performance. So through this collaboration, eventually they produced new music, which each ethnic group brought their input and their cultural orientation. And so we definitely know that there was a multicultural musical exchange at that time. The other thing that we know that the medieval Iberian Jewish poets, they used the Arabic poetic meters, and they probably adapted some Arabic melodies. So from small, bits of information that it's available to musicologists, we know that the Muslim Iberian world influenced both Christians and Jews more than the other way around. So actually the Muslim, they marked the musical tone at that time. So when we listen to Ladino music today, the tendency is to think that popular Ladino songs somehow they were born in medieval Spain. But unfortunately, and this is really unfortunate, we really don't have any musical notation from this time of Sephardic song, from this pre-expulsion era. So the speculation is there. And if you go through the literature, you can find that the origin, there are three schools of thoughts about the origin of the Sephardic music. By the strong onshore wind flow, the first school maintained that while the Jews moved to new lands, new communities, especially in the Ottoman countries, the Sephardic music was assimilated and obviously affected by, by the new musical influences. And the second school claim that Sephardic music played today bears no resemblance to the music that played during the pre-expulsion. Right. And then again, I think it's really very speculative, and people can argue for each direction because we don't have enough evidence, historical evidence. And at that time, Spain was invaded by different cultures, especially from Europe, from England, North Africa, the Middle East, and since there was there was no one. Since the Jews were not concentrated in one area, so it was hard to commit to a specific, point of origin. And the third one, so we can say that based on this claim that there was no unified musical tradition. And the third line of thought is that, which is more optimistic, they said that even though the Jewish people traveled and they migrated, and despite their uprooting, they managed to preserve their authentic Sephardic music. And especially the ballads, although the Sephardic music that we are familiar with, which is actually the 19th century Spanish compositions, is actually took made. I would say it was mostly influence on the composition of the Sephardim, and we are talking about the ballads and the life cycle songs, which we are going to elaborate on this later. So. So if we listen to Sephardic song. Some are popular, some are not popular. We can identify influences from the Turkish makam, from the Balkan rhythm, like the 9/8 or even the 7/8. The famous song is La Comida la Mañana. It's like this kind of rhythm. Also from Greek, the Rebatica, which is a long Greek tradition. Also, we can see it in we can trace some echoes of this in Sephardic songs. But in general, what we can say is that the Sephardim, they were very good in cultivating new form of artistic expression with a clear desire to imitate the Western culture, and music was included in this new trend. Okay, here's the Rebetica. All right. So what is the Ladino music? If we need to define it, or to give some sort of general statement about what is the Ladino music, we say it's a blend of a diverse musical tradition. Its core is in the medieval Spain, and we have a fusion of indigenous Muslim and Christian melodies. And also we know that the post-expulsion era, the music absorbed local influences and was reflected in the songs, in the melodies, and also in the rhythmic of the song. What was the role of the music in communal eyes? From communal point of view, the music was a major force, powerful force actually, in keeping the community intact. and I call it a survival kit because it helped them when they had to leave Spain, and it also helped them to keep continue their survival efforts in the diaspora or in the exile, which we call exile from Spain. And also it helped them to connect to their collective memory as Jews in exile. So it was really a surviving mechanism that keep their spirit alive, but also serve as a healing modality. And when I say healing, especially women used music to in different, prayers, and which brought some, cure and healing for the sick people. We know that the music was passed orally and reflected the melancholy, which has its roots in a displaced people, that longing for their homeland. And but in addition to, to this sad, I would say, or not very happy ideas or images, we also had some lyrical songs which are more cheerful, and it's mostly around life cycle events. It's connected to the wedding ceremony and the Brit Milah, the courtship, and which I'm going to share with you some of the samples of this song. Okay, so the Ladino musical tradition has 4 clusters of songs. The first one is the ballads, which are the narrative poems. The second one is the canticas, the lyrical song or life cycle songs. The other one are the coplas, which mostly it's about historical songs, stories that happen, historical events that happen in the community are reflected in the coplas, and the piyutim, which are the liturgical poems, and I'm sure that you are very familiar with a lot of them. So let's start with the ballads. The ballads are first of all, we have to know that it's the intellectual property of the Spanish people, and actually some of the Spanish people, they imported this tradition from north part of Europe, from England, and historically they were forgotten in Spain, but they were preserved in oral tradition in the exile. The musicologist and the historian, they were looking for them, and when they did their research, they were obligated to come, especially to Istanbul, and record them in the new Sephardic communities in the Balkans, and where they were quite amazed that the Sephardi managed to preserve them in a very authentic way. The ballads include all messages about the gender roles, about identity, about cross-cultural exchange, about historical ties to the previous land, and as I said before, they were survived because of the oral tradition. It was transmitted from grandmothers to their daughters, and from mothers to their daughters, and so it was from one generation to another one, and the reason that they survived, because they were part of the daily life, of the intimate connection, binding daughters to their mothers and mothers to their grandmothers. I'm sorry, I have to disconnect this. Okay, about the way they were singing, They sang them naturally. I don't know why it doesn't. They sang them naturally, and they were not self-conscious about their amazing accomplishment in maintaining medieval Spanish musical and linguistic tradition. They didn't sing romance or the ballads. They didn't sing it with the aim of preserving the medieval Spanish culture. Rather, they sang this song because it was. They felt that this is part of their tradition, and obviously singing was pleasurable activity. And they didn't really think about the deeper implication of maintaining this beautiful tradition. So what about the content of the ballads? And as I said, they were a narrative poem that usually represent a battle between two figures. It represents content about dreams, about betrayal, about loyalty, the loyal wife who is waiting for a husband to come back from travels. Stories, poems about kidnapping, especially Jewish girls or even Christian girls that were kidnapped by the Muslims. It also talks about long suffering, about lust, about seduction. The plot usually include assertive female characters that sometimes they are carrier of action, and some other times that they are just very passive and just completely dedicated to their partners, to their husband. In terms of the structure of the ballad, usually it contains 3 syllabi, and the melody is very monotonic. And I'm going to give you an example now, and you can see, because there is a repetition, and so it requires a lot of patience from the listener. And traditionally, it was not accompanied by an instrument. It was a cappella, completely a cappella. And as I said, mother were using also the singing of the ballads in order to put their children to sleep, like in a form of a lullaby. So what I want to okay, and here is something that I wanted to share with you, this quote about Rabbi Eliyahu Devida from Venice, who was very much opposing the singing of women, the ballads, and he said that religious song aroused the communion with God. But the song that women sing with their frivolous lyrics and dirty language accuse the separation between soul and body, and the lyrics are without substance, and only cheap people are attracted to them. So it's very interesting that this kind of statement came from the rabbis, but mostly the rabbis were, since we have to think about the context, the historical context, we're talking about patriarchal society, and women really were secluded in their own private domestic home. They were not allowed to have any contact with the outside world, so the rabbi were not very happy when women, especially that strongly involved in the education of their kids, were giving these messages in the ballads, which some of the messages are really obscene, to the children. So that's why they came up with this statement. But I must say that nevertheless, women were not intimidated by this kind of statement. They continue with their singing, and in fact, it even generated the opposite effect, that it created a strong bonding among women and encouraged them actually to keep doing it and singing. All right, so let me go now to the first ballad, which is El Rey de Francia, and it's about a. Let me hear. I have the translation here. It's about the king of France who had 3 daughters, and one of them, both of them, they were involved in art crafting, one in embroidery and the other one was sewing. But the youngest one, which she's making a tapestry, she fell asleep. And when her mother noticed that she was falling asleep, she didn't like it because she wanted her daughter to keep working. And so she was trying actually to push her or to hit her, if I'm giving you the literal translation. But the daughter said, don't do it, because I was in the middle of a very, very happy dream. So I want to tell you that Sephardic, part of the Sephardic custom and tradition is to pay attention to dreams, to record dreams, to talk about dreams. Dream really played a major component in the communal life. So here it is. So she was very curious. The mother was very curious about the dream, and then not only telling her the dream, but the mother was there. Her role was to give the interpretation of the dream. And then she described the dream, and eventually the interpretation is that she is going to marry the king or the son of the king, and maybe one day she's going to become a queen. One more thing about this song, this melody was so popular that part of the counterfacta, it's called, that they were trying to use popular melodies and bring them or instill them into prayers. So this song was, the melody of this song was adapted in Shachar Avakshecha, which are the prayer for the morning, Shachar. And the lyrics were written by Shlomo Ibn Gvirol, prominent Sephardic from the Middle Ages in Spain. And today, it's part of the routine services. And this music goes to it. So, but let's first go to the song itself.
El rey de Francia, 3 hijas tenía, la una la brava, la otra cosía. La más chica de ella, vestiduras hacía, la frandó y la frandó, sueño le caía. Su madre que la vía, a jarbar la quería, no me jarbaresh mi mates, te jarbaría. Un sueño me soñaba y era alegría. Sueño vos soñabas, yo goloso le daría.
So that's only, you know, a sample of the song. And then let me try to do a Shachar Avakshecha so you can have a taste of the prayer, which is actually the same music.
שחר אבקשך צורי ומשגבי ארוך לפניך שחרי וגם ערבי לפני גדולתך אמור ובהר כי עיניך תראה כל מחשבות ליבי.
Okay, so this was a sample or about the ballads. So now I want to move to the second category, which are the canticas. And the canticas are really traditional songs, and they are the best, you know, known genre of the Sephardic music. And the theme of the song are, as I said, it's about life in the community, and life in the community include everything. It include the lullaby song, it includes songs about love, about courtship, about relationship between mothers and daughters, which actually it's quite dominant in the Sephardic song. There are many songs about mothers who are trying to discipline their daughters, and the daughter usually don't pay attention to the mothers. And then about wedding song, and also about lamenting and, you know, mourning song by the end of life. So so let me start with a sample of a lullaby song, which is putting to sleep the baby, and it's called Durme, Durme, Hermosa Donzella.
Durme, durme, hermosa Rosella. Durme, durme, sin ansia y dolor. Durme, durme, sin ansia y dolor. Que tu esclavo que tanto risea ver tu sueño con grande amor, ver tu sueño con grande amor. Hay 2 años que sufre mi alma por lluvia melinda dama, por ti lluvia melinda dama.
Okay, so the other song, and here are the lyrics: Durme, durme, hermosa donzea. Sleep, sleep, my beautiful lady. Sleep without worry and pain. Your slaves only desire you. To watch over your dream with great love. My soul has suffered 2 years for you, Jewel, my lovely lady. Listen, listen to the tone of my guitar. The other song that I wanted to share with you, it's called Mama Yo no tengo vista. It's was very common among the Sephardic communities in Israel mostly. It was popular in early 19th century. And it's a song that describe, there are 4 verses in the song. The first 2 verses are very optimistic. And if I have here the translation, yeah. And it's a relation, it's the dialogue that is taking place between the mother and the daughter. And it's a very sort of like optimistic dialogue where the daughter is, involved with her art craft. And she said to her mother, "Wow, a bird, just a bird came into my." Let me see if this is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. It's about a unique bird, with beautiful blue eyes, that enters her room, salon room, but it's mostly her heart. And the bird is building a nest in her heart or in her room. But then in the 2 last verses, there is a twist. And while she was sewing or doing the embroidery, and basically she's doing it as a gift to her lover, suddenly she learned that her bird or her lover was taken from her. So in other words, he was getting engaged to another girl. So in the last verse, she asked her lover to send, at least, that's the least that he can do, is to send her some sweets to sweeten her bitterness and tears. So let me sing it to you, and then I would be very curious to get your impression, or even you have any comments about what we can learn from this song about the role of Sephardic women, about the life of Sephardic women, and the message that they are trying to convey here. So I'm going to go here to the Sephardic lyrics.
Mamá, yo no tengo visto pasar con ojos avis, rubia cara, canela, blanca como el jazmín, rubio como la canela, blanca como el jazmín. ¿Quién es este pacharico que en mi salón entró? Bir coraje sonido al viento de mi corazón. Y corazón herido, aliente de mi corazón. A sentada en mi ventana, la vorrà el paspiro, avergüéndome trocero, que la mi amor se esposó. Avergüéndome trocero, que la mi amor se esposó. Okay, I don't know, Emily, if they can open the mics to maybe ask questions or maybe comment about this particular poem.
Sure, sure. First, let me just go like this, which is to say how beautiful that was. So thank you. And I'll say that it really evoked a lot of emotion, even if like myself, you didn't understand all the words, you definitely got the spirit. But to your question, Rivka, opening it up, would anybody like to respond to this specific song that we just heard? And then there was one or two questions in the chat that we'll come back to as well. But but to Rivka's direction, anybody, if you want to unmute yourself and or you can raise your hand either with your hand or with the raised hand reaction. So just looking to see if anybody wants to say anything.
Romantic.
Oh,
Romantic. Yes, okay.
Are these pieces still sung popularly?
Yeah, yeah.
They're gorgeous. Where would they be sung?
Well, you can find them anywhere in YouTube, in all the channels that they have, Ladino music. I personally don't have a personal recording of this song, but I do have the next song that I'm going to introduce to you. I have a recording of this in my album Ija Mia, so you can listen to this. Yeah.
Would you give us the way to reach your album, where we can find
sure.
it? Thank you.
I can send you, if you want, I can send you the album, and also you can find the album in Spotify, in YouTube, in Amazon, everywhere. It's all over. It's called Ija Mia.
Rivka, to that point, with a song like this, in a Ladino family or a family that speaks Ladino, would you hear this at a wedding? Would you hear this around the table on Shabbat? When might you sing a song like this?
No, I wouldn't hear it, but I'll tell you what, many years ago, maybe I would say 30 years ago, Esther Farim, which was, one of the prominent Israeli singer, she was singing this song in Hebrew, which called Itragut. And it's it's a sort of like lullaby. When she was singing it, it's very, very melancholic. But it was translated to Hebrew, and also other groups were performing this song. But the reason I picked up this song, it's not only that you're right, the melody is very emotional. It really can touch you. To me, the song really represents the spirit of what we called brotherhood is not the right word, but maybe there is womanhood, okay, among Sephardic women, because the poor lady, I would call it poor lady because she was a young lady who was desperately
seeking some, love. And she was sitting near, ventana. Ventana is a window, and it's also another motif that it's a recurrent motif in a lot of Sephardic songs, that women are sitting on the window. And the reason they're sitting on the window, because window is a way, it's the way out. It's a place that you can create or engage with the outside world. So she was sitting there and hoping that her love will come. And so she's trying, maybe it was some sort of, of a fantasy about falling in love. And she was so looking forward for this dreamy moment to realize her dream. And then when she learned that her lover, or imaginative lover, we don't know exactly, was not interested in her, she sort of like going back to her seclusion, to her private domain, and she's closing herself from the outside world. And that's why I think it's quite interesting that this attempt to and I found it even maybe it's even part of women trying to reclaim their power. So they're trying to get out, to have a say, to be involved with the outside world. On the other hand, the patriarchal society, but not only patriarchal, but the entire dogma, and also, they lived also in the Muslim environment, mostly in the Ottoman countries, actually forced her to face reality and to go back to where she's coming from. And the other thing which I found also, that she accepted her destiny. And in a way, she say, okay, if you rejected me, that's fine, but at least send me some sweets so I can, it's not going to be so, I'm not going to be so miserable.
So Rivka, we had one other comment. Loli has her hand up, so just want to see if Loli wanted to respond.
Thank you for such beautiful songs that you sing. You're a beautiful singer, but I wanted to say I'm impressed by how much the Ladino it's Spanish. It just changes a few of the letters in the words, but I can read the whole thing and I can't, you know what I mean? Which I thought were difference, but it isn't. It's just beautiful. Thank you for bringing this new into my life. Thank you.
Oh, good. I'm glad that the Spanish speakers among the audience right now, among the participants, they can appreciate more even the lyrics and the content. Okay, so the other song that I want to share with you, it's about,
We got one more. Betty, did you want to make a comment?
Yes, I did. Rivka, I've played some Ladino songs before as part of a chamber group, and I remember particularly Lullaby. And I remember the music perfectly, but not the words. But it starts out with Ninge, Ninge, Ninge. Is that one that is pertinent here, or is that Ladino as far as you know?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with, I'm sorry, but I'm not.
Oh, okay. I just wondered because it was so hauntingly beautiful. It reminds me of this kind of music.
Yeah, but I would be curious if you have the lyrics of this song or the melody, if you can send it to me. I would be curious to get.
Maybe just I know the words sounded very Spanish, but the singer in our group was Sephardim, so and she said that the songs were Ladino, so I think that was one of them. But it's a long time ago. I may be remembering incorrectly. But anyway, thank you.
Okay, great. So another song now. Okay, so as I said, one of the theme is about a relationship between mother and daughter, and here is a song. It's called Una Matica de Ruda. It's about a mother who. Let me see if there is translation here. Yeah. It's about a mother who advising her daughter about modesty and about curbing temptation, which is of course part of growing up and mother trying to educate their daughters and about inappropriate mostly sexual behavior. And what's so interesting is that so the mother is asking the daughter, who gave you this beautiful bouquet of flowers? So the daughter said, is a young lover who fell in love with me. And obviously the daughter is already married, okay? So that's why the mother is so concerned. So the mother is telling her daughter, which supposedly she's a sinful daughter, to not to fall into disgrace, and it's better to have a bad husband than a new lover. However, the daughter disagreed with the mother, and she said it's better to a bad husband. It's like a curse, and a new lover is like a lemon and apple, which is also again a recurrent motif in a lot of the apples and the lemons in the Sephardic music. So it's called Una Matica Deruda. So what's interesting again here that women and even daughters, they were allowed to express their views in their own, intimate gathering without any hesitation, without any fear. And even though it was against the conventional, customs or conventional, way of thinking, they were allowed to express their view, even though it was not aligned with, with the patriarchal expectation. So una matica de ruda. Una matica de ruda, una matica de flor, me la dio un man sevico que de mí se enamoró. Me la dio un man sevico que de mí se enamoró. Y ya mi querida, no te eches a perdición. Más vale un mal marido que es mejor de nuevo amor. Más vale un mal marido que es mejor de nuevo amor. Okay, now we're moving now from a sort of like relationship between mothers and daughters to men who are trying to pursue their, mostly women, and or women trying to pursue their men, and this song is really about a song that describe the attempt of a man to, I would say, maybe seduce the girl, and by describing her beautiful parts and mostly focusing on her face. And but the idea here is really, it's sort of like naive idea, because it's what he wants to praise her beauty before they're going to get married. He wants to praise her beauty, but eventually in his mind, he see himself like the couple is like the unification, or the joint, a gathering of both the girl and the boy. So it's called Rachel. And he goes first, he said, oh, what a beautiful hair you have, what a beautiful front of you have, what a beautiful eyes, what a beautiful mouth, and what a beautiful chest you have. And so that's, just the way to pursue her and attract her. Rachel. Qué linda pelo tienes tú, Rachel. Qué linda pelo tienes tú, Rachel. El pelo tuyo, el pelo mío, junto estarán los dos, Rachel. Qué hermosa frente tienes tú, Rachel. Qué hermosa frente tienes tú, Rachel. La frente tuya y la frente mía junto estarán las dos, Rachel. Qué hermosos ojos tienes tú, Rachel. Qué hermosos ojos tienes tú, Rachel. Los ojos tuyos y los ojos míos junto estarán los dos, Rachel. Qué hermosa boca tienes tú, Rachel. Qué hermosa boca tienes tú, Rachel. La boca tuya y la boca mía junto estarán las dos, Rachel. Okay, and I want maybe to share another song. Now this is about the wedding, and I don't have the lyrics here, but it's called Scalerica de Oro. It means stairs of gold, and unlike the ballad, as you can see, which tell you a story, this particular song, it's a wedding song. It reflects state of mind. With a specific goal, and the goal is, if you listen to the lyrics, is that God will grant us with mazal alto and mazal bueno. It means God will grant us with good fortune and good and prosperity if we are going to help a poor bride to get married. And what does it mean to help a poor bride to get married? It means that the community has to get together and create some funds, bring some funds that will allow the ceremony and the festival. And what is the reward that they're going to get? The reward is that God will grant them with mazal bueno and with mazal alto. It means with good fortune. And again, to me, is a wonderful expression about communal life, about altruism, and mostly about social responsibility and how the community member help each other. And even in the event that somebody doesn't have the funds or doesn't have the resources, it's not a big deal because people help each other. So it's called Scalerica de Oro. Scalerica de oro, de oro y de marfil, para que suba la novia para Kiddushim. Venimos a ver, y gocen y logren y tengan mucho bien. Venimos a ver, y gocen y logren y tengan mucho bien. La novia no tiene dinero, la novia no tiene dinero. Que nos tenga un mazal bueno, que nos tenga un mazal bueno. Venimos a ver, y gocen y logren y tengan mucho bien. Venimos a ver, y gocen y logren y tengan mucho bien. La novia no tiene contado, la novia no tiene contado. Que nos tenga un mazal alto, que nos tenga un mazal alto. Venimos a ver, y gocen y logren y tengan mucho bien. Venimos a ver, y gocen y logren y tengan mucho bien.
A lot of us were dancing for that one, including little baby Shlomi.
Ah, wonderful.
And Rabbi Waxman is dancing there too. Look at that. And I think I saw a few of you others bopping as well. So
Yeah. Okay, so did you stop the sharing?
I did, but if you want to reshare, just
No, that's fine. That's fine. I think that we are done for this session. And so what I wanted, again, if I want to bring it to a closure, I just wanted to highlight, some of the Ladino, two categories of the Ladino repertoires, about the ballads and the canticas. And obviously there are many, many, many songs out there, beautiful, beautiful melodies, beautiful lyrics, and you are welcome, to go and do your own search and look for some more musical performances. And please, if you have any questions about what we explore today, please ask me, and I will be happy to answer.
Well, I want to thank everyone for being here. And as we said, can you hear me okay? Okay. Want to thank everyone for being here. And while this concludes the formal part of our program, Rivka, if you don't mind staying on for a few more minutes, if anyone has some questions, would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Well, again, we want to thank everyone, and we'll see you again next week for the final in this wonderful session. And we'll make sure to get out to people also. Rivka was willing to share some of her slides, I believe, and we'll get you her address and link to her YouTube, as well as how to get more of her music. So Bethany, you had a question for us?
Yes. You mentioned that we didn't know a lot about, like, there wasn't a lot of notation in the music, like pre-1492, and so we don't know exactly what those songs sounded like. So the music that we're singing now, that you're singing in these songs, how far back can we trace these melodies?
Yeah, so the assumption out there is that it's new melodies that were composed in the early, the end of 19th century, early 20th century. And since you have a diverse genre, and some songs have more, like, for example, Scaleric de Oro, I don't know if you noticed, but there is a rhythm, a mechanic rhythm. So I would say it's actually coming from Bulgaria, from this area. El Rey, the ballad actually, the El Rey de Francia is some attributed to the Greek tradition, but this actually can go back because it's most of the ballads are older. And but the canticas mostly are a new generation, new babies basically,
Are the lyrics older than the music, than the melody? Like, do the lyrics go back farther than the melodies, or are they all relatively new?
It's in the same, but what's interesting is that for the same lyric you can have two different tunes. Like, for example, Una Matica de Ruda that I was playing to you. So there is another melodic version, like Una Matica de Ruda, Una Matica de Ruda. So it's just different because it's coming from a different region. So you can use the same. You can found in the repertoire. You can find lyrics that have a different melodies, and like what they do with prayers. I didn't share it today, but maybe I'll do it next year. Like, for example, Adon Olam. It's the melody of Adon Olam is it's actually a wedding song. Adon Olam asher malach beterem kol yetzir nivra la 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 la, etc., etc. So so that's what we found, which is quite interesting. That one way to teach the populace about prayers is to use melodies that they are already familiar with, and if they use the melodies, eventually they will internalize the prayer, or which is part of the service. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Bethany, I think that was also your question from before about how far the melody goes back. Is there anybody else have any other questions or comments? Anything you'd like to share with Rivka or with us as a group?
Muchas gracias, señorita.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you.
This was fantastic. I want to thank you again for broadening our horizons, and I can't wait for even more and for us to continue to stay connected. I want to thank everyone for being here, and again, if anyone wants to stick around for a little bit, you can feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions or want to share. And again, Rivka, thank you so much for being here with us. So thank you.
I have a question to Rabbi Bender. You wrote something that this remind you a bit of Song of the Song. My lover is like this animal found. So what exactly do you mean by that?
I mean, hold on, just let me move my screen in a second. But I think I like the imagery of the bird and.
Oh, I see. Oh, you're talking about the Mama Yo no tengo vista. Okay, I see. Yeah.
That's what I was talking about specifically. But but certainly I see a lot of that. Thank you. A lot of biblical imagery I've seen in a lot of those Pew team, the medieval Spanish Pew team. I had a question about those. I know that this is very niche, so I apologize for those. This is a very niche question. There's a strong in medieval Spanish Pew team. There often can be a writing about God or writing about lovers in a very homoerotic fashion, and I was curious if any of those made it into song. Although I know there's a very large swath of Pew team written that way and poems written that way. So I was just curious if they made it also into the song liturgy.
Yeah, in some of the ballads there are some erotic images, and even I would say even more upsetting images. That's
Mhm.
yeah, it's about insects and about sexual relationship, about seduction. Yeah, so there are some that's that's why the rabbis were so offensive about it, and
Well, the rabbis were writing it too.
the but the rabbis, they are the masculine, they are the men. They are entitled to, but women are supposed to be modest, supposed to be humiliated, so to exhibit some humility. So yeah, but it's interesting that you bring this Song of the Song because next. Next week, I'm going to talk to you about the koplas also, but also about the liturgical song. And one song is attributed to Tisha B'Av, so the poet actually using biblical images in the song, which is it's just fascinating, and maybe it's coming from the Song of the Song. I don't know exactly, but it's definitely biblical metaphor to describe the agony that he's going through. It's called Montañas Altas. So I can send the lyric of this song as well. Yeah.
That sounds like something even from Psalms. With big mountains.
No, it's not so. It's not so much about the mountains. It's really about the judgment day and about what God actually is witnessing everything that we do, and He's writing it, and He's using this sky and ocean and all this natural images to as a metaphor to convey the message that God is witnessing everything. So
Between Rabbi Emily and myself, we'll figure out what Bible passage it comes from. Don't worry.
Okay.
Riva, could I ask? I'm interested in knowing how many, if you don't mind, how many languages do you speak, and which was your first language?
Okay, so I was born in Israel. I'm a Sabra, and my native language is Hebrew. And then at high school, I studied French. But I must tell you that I forgot a lot because I don't practice French. And then at home, with my grandmother, we spoke Ladino and English, and I think that's enough. No, so
you have Spanish because it's
yeah. Well, I tell you, I never study Spanish, modern Spanish. But when I went to Portugal and Spain, I managed to get along very nicely with the Ladino. So
no, it's in the northern Spain, Galicia and Asturias. Asturias is where my grandmother was born, my grandparents. A lot of these words are like in Asturiano, fijo, you say fijo, you use a lot of the...
I don't use fijo, I use ijo or ija because coming from my parents, coming from Turkey and Bulgaria, so yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're right. It's there are different pronunciation. Yeah, we talked about it last week. Yeah.
Well, it's you can get along, like you said. You went to Portugal.
Absolutely, yeah. It was really. I was surprised that I don't know Portuguese at all, and but I managed to understand them because I guess there are some words, Portuguese words in Ladino, and
well, it's similar in Spanish. You can understand, especially read. You can read it and understand it. Yeah.
Barbara, did I see you raise your hand as well, or no? Okay, Judy, you have your hand up too.
I was just about to say, as a Spanish speaker, it was so easy for me to read the Ladino.
Mhm.
And I just really finally, after all these years, made just a beautiful connection intellectually as a result of you're bringing all of this to us. And it's just a delight.
Wonderful. Well, that's great. Wow.
Portuguese is fun
You
too.
made my day, as they say.
My family was
Great.
originally from Germany, and we all speak German. And I can see the Crusaders coming down there through there and influencing what was spoken when Portuguese became Portuguese, and it's separated out into a different country than Spain. But this was just it was a learning delight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad you had a good
Gracias.
Good. Mhm.
Well, I don't know how we can end on a better note than that, that this was a learning delight. And I just want to, again, thank you, Rivka. We can't wait until next week. And I think also, as you're talking and through this discussion, I'm even thinking of potential future topics for us to delve more into Ladino, and not just the songs, but for me, actually hearing you say that I'm a French speaker. So I was surprised at how much I could catch from the Ladino. You know, I mean, I know sometimes I can understand Spanish, but it seemed like even more tonight. I'm not sure. Maybe it was just hearing the music and feeling the vibes, but I'd love to even sometime go into more of some of the language. And I know we have people who want to study the poetry. This has just been fantastic, and can't wait to hear more, and just so excited that we've brought you all the way from the West Coast to the South, and everyone here is in different places as well, from Wilmington to Florida and Alabama and in between. So we just are so excited to have you with us. I wish everyone a wonderful week. It's a little early to say Shabbat Shalom, but I'll say it anyway. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. And we'll also make sure, Rivka, if it's okay, that at the end we give out your email address in case anyone wants to.
Yeah, and somebody asked me about my album. So if they can send me their address, I can send them the album by mail if they are interested, or we can, or they can just look at Spotify or Amazon or YouTube and just listen to the music there. But I will be happy to do it anyhow. So please feel free to email me your contact information. I'll do it.
Again, thank you. Muchas gracias. Is that okay to say? Or
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. Sí. Nice.
And how do we say good night? It's still afternoon by you, but for most of us on the East Coast or Central, how do we say?
Just now it's 5:30, so it's about 8:30 now. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Buenas noches.
Okay.
Buenas noches. Buena semana. It means Shavua Tov, a good week. Buenas noches. It's Laila Tov or Erev Tov or good night.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Rabbi Bender and Virginia, do you guys want to stay on for one moment if you have it?
Sounds good.
Good night, Laura.
You want to turn off the recording?